And welcome back to Silicon Valley Ed News. On the second segment, we have three really special guests with us today. Very interesting positions, and I'm really interested in knowing more about each and every one of you. We have Chris Norwood, who is, you're on the Board of Trustees, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So really nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And we have Steve Neese, and you are in charge. You are the Elevat Program Manager. So that's a really interesting title. I saw the word elevate, and I thought, what are you elevating? Anyway, thank you for coming on. So really interested in knowing more specifically about what you do and what your program is all about in a moment. We have Lauren Silver, who is our Vice President of Education at the Computer History Museum. That's really neat. So let's start off with let's start off with Chris.
Sure.
So I was doing a little research on you, and I think it's really interesting that you've been volunteering. We were talking a bit offset as well.
Okay, yes.
And you're from Milpitas, and you grew up in Milpitas, and so obviously your heart is really in that community. So what inspired you to take on this role in the Board of Trustees?
So thank you for asking the question. Well, as a longtime Milpitas resident, having the opportunity to be a parent in the district, a student in the district, and now having children of my own, I was very interested in how the actual operations of a school district. And the opportunity presented itself from the work that I had done in the community with students, providing academic support services, coaching, volunteering in classrooms. And I was fortunate enough to be approached by some of the former school board members and saying that we think that you'd really be a good candidate to be on the school board. So I didn't have a lot of time to think about it, and I jumped right in, and fortunately the people of Milpitas knew my history, and they elected me to be a trustee.
Fantastic. And how does it feel to be amongst this group of people? What does it mean to be a Board of Trustee for you?
You know, it's pretty fascinating because you really get a chance to understand all the different dynamics that are involved in a school district and a city and a community when it comes to education, and the relationship between all the different types of people, the classified employees, the teachers, the district administration, and the parents and the students. I mean, it's a really complex system, and so when folks believe that there's a silver bullet or a simple solution, you know, getting a chance to participate on the board, you get a chance to learn that, you know, there's a lot of layers to address any particular issue.
Right. Right, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's a personal interest to me, being an educator myself. And we're having a really interesting conversation offset that I really found very fascinating. So I'll ask you a few points about that afterwards.
All right, thank you.
Steve Neese, so tell me a little bit more about this program, Elevat. What is it all about?
Yeah, that's a great, very large question.
It is a large question.
So let me break down a little. So we're a program under the umbrella of a larger organization, the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. And this organization is a nonprofit, and they take a three-pronged approach to helping make sure that every student that graduates from high school is eligible to go to a four-year university. And we're finding that high school might even be too late to get started on making sure that your A through G requirements are set up.
Right.
So the Elevat program focuses in on middle school students. And we're finding that if you're in a middle school and your testing range is a little bit below what's considered proficient, but you're not at the very bottom, there's really not a whole lot of services out there for you that have data proving that they make a difference, right? So the Elevat program is a result of this understanding. And there's an organization called WestEd that did a study, and it showed that if you have interventions that include teacher development and very specific type of curriculum, including growth mindset and other STEM focuses, then you're going to have a substantial difference. And what happens when a student enters high school, now they're ready to take the Algebra 2, wherever the equivalent is. So as the program manager, I'm helping to expand into different districts and making sure that our mission of having every student be ready for four-year university by the time they graduate from high school is fulfilled. And that's one of the reasons that I'm with this organization, because the mission is absolutely critical for the future of our valley.
And that's fantastic. I have extensive experience with grade 7 and 8 students myself, and I love that age group. I know that not all teachers, they're a little bit more rowdy and hyperactive, but it's really, to me as a teacher, it's heart-wrenching sometimes to see how certain students, because of certain circumstances, outside of sometimes their control, are kind of left to the wayside. So it's neat that you have this program. Have you seen any significant improvements amongst students who are, their grades are falling and they just don't think that they're good enough? And what have you seen as improvements in that?
Well, to be completely frank, I've only been there for about a month.
Okay.
So I haven't personally seen it, but I've seen the data and some of the reporting on it, and we're having some great progress. And I'm looking forward to being a part of a longitudinal study. So we have kids who've been there for the last few years. And one great thing about Elevate program is it's always evolving. So we don't accept that, oh, we did it this year and that was great. It's, and what can we continue to do better? How are we making sure that we're tracking our young people so that, let's say they need another intervention, or maybe one dose isn't enough, which is what a lot of studies are showing, that you need it continuously, right? Yeah. So, you know, in the future, I'd hopefully like to see us not just say, oh, someone went through the program and now so-and-so is doing great anecdotally. I would love to see some great longitudinal data, right? And maybe even add on extra grades, right? Like when we can have a student start 6th going to 7th, 7th and 8th, 8th and 9th, and you have this constant bringing you up, introducing growth mindset, and being a summer supplement, right? I'm absolutely hopeful that it's going to be as successful as any program has ever been.
That's fantastic. I really very inspired by that. I wish we had a program back where I'm from.
We'll connect.
Okay, sounds good. I'm Lauren Silver. I'm going to pass this off to you. So you are the Vice President of Education in the Computer History Museum. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the Computer History Museum is, what some of your goals are, and what are the things that you would like that are important, that are part of this museum, that you want to showcase to other people?
Sure. The museum is just down the road. It's in the heart of Mountain View. We're right down, literally right down the road from Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft. So physically, really where we need to be. We like to say that the museum itself, that the building is our largest artifact. It has a history in Mountain View as the headquarters of Silicon Graphics way back when. So we really sort of, really came up through Mountain View. It has actually a 35-year plus history itself. It started on the East Coast and then migrated out here. But it is what it says. It's a computer history museum. And so it's interesting because we sort of exist at the intersection of, certainly in education, of STEM, science, technology, education, and math, and the humanities. And it's kind of a nice place to be because what we get to do is we're really thinking educationally. We think in terms of cross-cutting skills, in terms of the skills, knowledge, and kind of thinking strategies that all learners of every age need to develop to really be a productive and positive member of the community, with technology sort of as the subject matter that we're exploring. So we have a full floor of exhibitions. So we have our main exhibition is 26,000 square feet. We call it Revolution, the first 2,000 years of computing. So looking toward the next 2,000, hopefully. And we're actually always changing. We have spaces for traveling exhibitions or temporary exhibitions, some aspects of which we bring in with collaborations from others. Right now we have an exhibition on autonomous vehicles, including a self-driving car from Google. We have
I saw
an exhibition that we just opened on Ada Lovelace, who is a pioneer of computing in Victorian England. So we have a large variety. We're growing. Our education department is always growing. We offer public tours, sort of traditional museum programs, so public tours. We offer demonstrations of restored historical artifacts. So we demonstrate the IBM 1401.
Wow.
1961 era computer. We demonstrate the PDP-1, which is also about 1961, and it's the computer. Actually, it's a really fun story because it's a computer that was developed in Boston in about 1959, and it was offered by Digital Equipment Corporation. It was offered to a bunch of grad students at MIT to see what they could do with it. And being grad students, they developed a game. And so they developed a computer game. The first real computer game, sort of the second one out there, but the first one that got any traction, called Space War. Okay. And 2 of those graduate students are now 2 of our docents, which I just love. And you can go and you can play Space War against those 2 docents, and they will beat you. But so we offer restored historical artifacts, demonstrations, but we also offer a number of, in education, education in a museum is really a department that is very much the advocate for the visitor. And so what we're really concerned with is we're concerned with how learning happens in what we call an informal learning environment. This is not a school, so we're not subjected to testing, for instance, high-stakes kind of testing. But in order to be a really solid community resource, it's absolutely critical that our educational mission be able to serve and enhance the mission of the formal educational community around us. So we work very closely to ensure that what we're doing, both in terms of content as well as in terms of skills, is as critical as it can be in terms of being really close to the Common Core standards, to next generation science standards, to what and how teachers and administrators and parents and students need to be doing in the formal education community as well. So we offer a large variety, I can go into depth about any of them, but a large variety of programs for students and teachers. We're offering teacher professional development, student-facing programs for kindergarten through college, really. And it's, we're growing. We have special community outreach programs that are, we work in collaboration with after-school and out-of-school learning programs to bring in kids who are underserved or underrepresented in the tech community to come in for day-long programs and special events. We offer visits with free bus transportation, with lunch provided for Title I middle schools in the area. Our sort of sweet spot in terms of age is middle through high school, but we offer something for, as I said, K through college. So.
That's fantastic. That's really neat. As a teacher myself, I really value the importance of having the education expand outside of the classroom. And so that's really neat that you offer that it's so readily available. And I have to take a visit myself and see what that's all about. And just a question, I was going to come back to you, Chris, but I think just because we're nearing the end of our segment, I'll just hand this off to whoever wants to answer this, but it was inspired by our conversation that we had before. You're all 3 of you very passionate about what you do, and you do different things, you offer different programs, but there's something that connects all of them, and it's the education and the passion that you have for transmitting this knowledge and encouraging these young individuals to flourish and expand their interests and in various fields or their potential themselves. Just a few words from each of you. What is the most important thing when it comes to these students?
For me, the most important thing is that they have an opportunity to thrive in the Silicon Valley and the Bay Area. I mean, this is the community that they grew up in, and we want the opportunity for them to be successful and start their families and live nice, long lives here.
Yeah, I like that one.
Unfortunately, I have to echo someone else. That's a great answer that I would like to adopt myself. I would add on to it, too, that I would like to see an education system, right, where you have leadership that maybe approaches things a little differently than a way things are approached now sometimes. Chris is a great example. I mean, he's a tremendous school board member and he's a tremendous ally. Another thing that connects us, too, is we've gone through other programs and we've built relationships with each other. And so the work we do in education as leaders, when you have trust that's set up in there as well, then you're able to have frank conversations. And then you're able to figure out how do we really get to support the students and the kids that we want to. Because a lot of things that get in the way that people aren't willing to talk about up front. And so breaking down those barriers, this panel here is a great example of that. We all can talk to each other about things. And we could all find out what the right thing to do is moving forward. And if I find out that things I'm working on aren't actually in the best interest, then I can make those changes, right? And that's actually why I left my last job, is so I could be in this space.
Fantastic. That's neat. And just because we're almost completely out of time, a couple words to share what this means to you, your museum.
Well, for us, everybody really is a learner. As a museum, we're talking about students, but we're also talking about sort of lifelong learners. And I think it's really critical for us that everybody be able to see themselves as a part of something larger, as a part of the history, and that we really take the past as a base on which to become, to feel motivated and interested and enabled to really help create, understand the present and create the future.
I like that.
And again, through this idea of exploring the impact of technology on the lives that we are all living and the future that we're all sort of creating together.
Really neat. Well, thank you all for coming on the show. I'm really honored to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation offset. And on the note of the future, I hope you guys join us for future segments on Silicon Valley Education News. It was a pleasure having you guys come tune in with us. Please tune in with us again.